This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to the July Commission on Disability meeting. Who do we have missing? Nancy, and then we have somebody new, Jim. I don't know if he's coming or not. Are we missing anybody else?
Oh God, my brain.
I don't think so. So that's taking the minutes for us.
Well,
right.
It's
Taking
a transcript.
Yes.
Yeah.
That.
So let's see. Wait. So how many members do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and are we up to 9 members?
No.
Yeah.
No, we only have, so members here, me and Bryce are members. So
3, 4,
5 members.
5.
Barbara and David are here and we love them,
Yeah.
but they're not technically voting
Right.
members.
Okay. So I'm sorry, what's your name?
That's talking to you.
My name is Barbara.
Barbara. Okay. And you're not a member, you're just visiting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's fine. You're welcome to do that. Okay, so we have 6 members present. And
5.
5. David isn't a
1, 2,
voting
3,
member either.
4, 5.
Oh, Stan.
Oh,
7.
6.
Wait,
Yes,
no, there's,
and
okay,
6. So we
Yeah.
should be good.
okay,
Or quorum. Right?
Yeah.
right.
Right. So
Yeah.
Nancy's missing, and then we have a new
And the new
person.
person.
Okay, so there's no one here for public speak. So I guess the first thing, we don't have a speaker this month. I gave us a break so we could talk about other stuff. Stan, do you wanna, we can talk real quick about the accessibility, trail letter of support?
Okay.
Do you want to revisit that real quick? I'm gonna close the door.
I'll do it.
Yes, you go.
Well, I wrote a sample letter of what I would send if I were sending it. And I believe I sent you a copy, Angelique.
Yeah.
I don't know if you shared it with the rest of the group or not. But I
did.
thought it sort of covered the bases of what they wanted in terms of a support letter, and also let them know that we were doing the same in our community with accessible trails and had already completed 2 of them and would like to do more.
So since I missed last meeting, or I wasn't here, how did it end around the letter? That we just are writing a letter and then?
Yeah, I think if I remember right, Stan, you said you would draft a letter and then.
And I did.
Yeah, and then we can look at it.
Jeff Bag, how does that work? Because through email, you're not supposed to talk about. So like I send a letter out, but like people can't
receive the
respond.
letter. Did you sent it?
I did, but did not go anywhere.
Well,
Well, I can send it again, but people can't respond though, right? Because then that's like having a meeting over.
correct.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so
Okay.
Stan, I assume this letter isn't very long, right?
No, it's not very long.
So would you like to read it now for us?
If I can find it.
I can move on to something else if you think it'll take you a while.
Okay, I'll go look for it.
Okay. Jeff Bag, did you want to just talk about what you sent me in the email at all, or the information real quick?
Sure. So yesterday, I was a little busy yesterday. I had something happening, but Did you forward that off to this group or no?
I did.
Okay. So every year, the Massachusetts Office of Disability has a grant program. And in the past, so it's broken down into two categories. One's a planning grant where you would do research or, gather information about certain things. And then the other is a project grant. And I guess 2 cycles ago, we did the planning grant and we did a transition plan. So we had the consultant team, I think they came to this group twice. They did an assessment of all city-owned buildings and services and generated a report, which is basically a list of things that we as a community need to do to enhance accessibility. So that was like the planning grant portion, which they require you to do that before you can apply for money for like a project. But now we're eligible for project grants. The dollar amount's pretty big, so it's projects up to 250,000 can be funded. The new information that they provided is that the city doesn't need to provide a match anymore. So sometimes with like a $250,000 grant, the city has to contribute 20% or something, but they took that out. So that's a really good thing. It makes it easier for the city to ask for the money, and we don't need to go to city council. There doesn't need to be other money attached to it. So I received the email yesterday that the grant announcement happened, and I sent it to all the department heads. So think like the Council on Aging, this building, so DPW, the Parks Department, and probably the schools, but the schools now are kind of like, we're in a new building, so it's less important. To find out if any of those departments think that there's like a really critical project to pursue. And then the grant deadline, if I remember correctly, was like September 30th. The hardest part about these grants is, if you identify a project, you have to do more work than just say we're going to do this. You have to get a consultant who will look at the project and come up with a cost estimate for how much would it cost to do the project. So we would need to have that to apply for September 30th. So it's kind of quick. And it's July 11th, so we have like basically a month and a half to determine if the city has a project that they want to pursue, and then get someone to do cost estimates.
And I have a question.
Yep.
So, and does it have to be by project? Does that mean it has to be building something, or can it be another kind of project?
It can be another kind of project as long as it's tangible of some, like there has to be something that can be provided. Just as an example, last year we did apply. We had finished the transition plan and we put together a quick application. It was going to be for assisted listening devices. And we had talked about that as a need, like upstairs in city council room and at the senior center. And then what we also asked for was for a group to come in and assess all the doors. So some of the doors open automatically, and there's a certain amount of pressure that it's supposed to have. Where that transition plan found that many of the doors are too heavy, or the mechanism is broken or whatever. So we had asked for $52,000 for assisted listening devices and to fix a bunch of different doors, and we didn't get it. So I wrote that to you yesterday, but so that was another example of something that we did try to apply for last year. So it depends on what you're asking about. You have something in mind.
I don't have anything in mind, but I just want to get a sense, like, could it be something like training or something, right? Something that doesn't involve like something that's not physical.
I would need to look. I seem to remember there's something in there about a capital expenditure, which means like an item.
I see.
So like a training, we can look into that, but it would have to be, we'd have to find who would do a training and then what they would train people for, and then the cost estimate for that.
Right, can it be a sign language thing?
Right, well, that's what I think, I figured that's what Eli was asking about. But we would need to, I would really want to be getting information to this group. Actually, well, we have 2 months. So maybe an update in August. And then confirmation of something at the September meeting.
Okay,
If we can figure out a project, whether it's from the commission or one of the city departments, we would ask for a letter of support from the Commission on Disability to submit with the grant. So,
Stan had pointed out something about saying you can use money. Like there's a little snippet, right, Stan, about using money?
well, that was the fees from,
Yeah, the fees, yeah.
that
Right,
was something.
right.
So, Louise has a.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead, Louise.
Hello,
Go ahead.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Stan. Okay, my question is, I've got an interest in assisted living listening devices. Jeff, how realistic, why were those in 88 doors turned down last year?
Right.
We don't know why it wasn't funded. I mean, the grant program is really competitive, so they can't fund every request they get. And it's not, I mean, I'm just kind of sharing what I know, but for example, we applied 5 times in a row to get the money for the transition plan. So we applied for the past 5 years and we got it on the 5th year.
Okay, same, I've got a sense of that. Is it worth reapplying for any assisted listening devices? Because I'm here to tell you that they're needed at City Hall.
Correct. It was identified as a need, something that would be well utilized, I guess. Like we
Yep.
wanted to something that wasn't token. It was something that was going to be important for people to use. So I think that's something, unless there's, so for example, on the Council on Aging building, there are a lot of accessibility issues.
Yep.
So prioritizing the project is something, we don't know what projects are potentially fundable yet. So that's something that we have to figure out in the next month or two. But Louise, I think it would be good to consider it on a list of things to apply for.
Okay, that's all I have to contribute at this time. Thank you.
And
I looked into the assisted listening devices, and there are many different types, and some work with their own headsets, some work by utilizing the person's hearing aid. And in order to be able to provide the right device for the right person, we would have to have some method of being able to communicate by web, by email, etc., with each person who needed such a device, so we could get compatible equipment, etc. And I don't see that we necessarily right now have the ability to contact our constituents on an individual basis.
Yeah, I included it in the packet. I'd have to look back to what, we had a company come and visit the meeting room upstairs and the larger room at the Council on Aging, and they proposed the system that they thought would be the most utilized.
Okay.
I don't remember the details of what, because of the specifications in that PDF I sent, but I don't recall off the top of my head what it was. But yeah, we would need to look at that. But I think we don't necessarily want like that saying that the perfect is the enemy of the good. So like
Agreed.
right now we have nothing, and it could be better to have something available for people rather than nothing. But Stan, it's in that packet, so we would look at that again and figure out what the best system was going to be to provide the service for most people.
Okay.
So I guess Angelique, if you were okay with adding this to the next agenda too, we can keep talking about it. And if I hear the director of the Council on Aging replied to my email kind of quickly yesterday, So I think she wants to look at something with the Council on Aging to make the building more accessible, but I don't know what it is yet.
Okay. Great.
I mean, they need better Wi-Fi throughout the building as well.
Right, that might not fall under this, but
Right.
it could. I did look while we were talking, and it does say that only capital related expenses will be covered. So design plans, feasibility studies, and applicant salaries are not eligible expenses. So whether trainings would fall under there, I can do a little investigating, and then there's a webinar. They usually hold a webinar to explain the grant program, and so I'm happy to attend that and find out if the training would be something that they would fund.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Dan, did you find the letter?
Yes, I did. Would you like me to read it now?
Sure.
Okay. I said, I started off, Dear Meg, thank you for reaching out to us to support the Unpaved Trails for All bill currently awaiting passage in the Massachusetts State Legislature. We discussed this at our last commission meeting and agreed that we should and would support this legislation. Our small city has already built and opened 2 such trails on our own and would like to build more if state funding were made available for these projects. I have visited your website and reviewed the various ways we can provide support for this important program, and we will do all we can to do what you suggest. I am sorry that we have taken so long to get back to you on this, but we are a small group of volunteers with too much to get done. We will sign up for emails on the website so we can stay up to date on the progress of this bill. Yours truly.
So the only thing is, I don't know that we should be saying we have too much to get done.
Well, I mean,
Like
we
we
took a
were
long
here
time to, I took a long time to answer, so I just, you know, we do have a lot to get done, and even more now with this grant stuff. But, you know, we will support them in as much as we can.
Yeah.
I agree with Angelique that the apology is just unnecessary in a formal letter. You could, I mean, if you wanted to put it ahead and attach the letter as a PDF and just say, hey, I was busy, but we just brought this to the commission. And then
I'm
you could
happy to
attach
reach it out.
if you attach it in an email and then have the formal letter be the formal letter without the apology or something like that.
Okay.
That would,
When I sent it to Angelique, I said, you know, this is, you know, what I would write. Feel free to edit whatever you wish to edit.
Well, thank you for writing it again.
Yeah, thank you.
Does anybody have any other issues with it?
so how are we gonna, what is the support gonna be? Just like,
Well,
just our formal endorsement in the form of
well,
that
I
letter.
need some money.
Yeah, you need
Yeah.
money. Well, that's not the topic we're talking about now, Barbara, okay? All right.
Well, I wasn't
And I wanna
here.
go, Cape Cod though.
Yeah, that's good.
I wasn't here when the woman was here. Cause I
Don't worry,
missed that meeting.
just
So
relax, okay?
did she say anything in particular?
She likes accessible trails. They're
Sorry,
good.
buddy.
That's the gist of it?
Can I ask a
Well,
question?
yeah.
I was going through when Meg sent I have the PowerPoint that Meg
Hold on, okay?
Bandera sent. Did she ever send like a sample letter?
No.
No? Okay, because it seems to suggest that it says, like, how can you help? Write a letter or attend and speak at a committee hearing. Sign support letter. We will circulate and encourage family and friends to sign too. I just wonder if
So it sounds like it's already written.
maybe, but I think the only thing that may be missing on that is putting it into a letter form and addressing it to the Senate, I guess. I guess we're trying to figure out who we have to send it to. Right? Because you don't want to send it to
I
me.
guess both, both our House and Senate representatives in the state legislature.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah,
So I
so,
think if you flip it around so that it's addressed to them, then the contents of the letter are from Easthampton, and we
Yeah.
support it, and we've done trail work, and we would like to do more. I think that's the goal, is just to articulate that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
yeah, and so there were a few parts where you wrote kind of as yourself, and yeah, and as Jeff Brown was saying, like, I think, we need to write it as like, we're writing this from the commission as a whole. And if there's like, if it's attached to an informal letter, then that can have the stuff that's from you individually, I guess.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anything that's missing?
No.
Okay, we'll get that fixed then and sent out.
So who's gonna do that?
I'll talk to Stan about it.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Stan, for doing that. It's
Thank
good.
you.
Happy to do it.
Eli, did you want to talk about your presentation real quick?
Yeah, so I've been working on a presentation about that I would give to the city council on our 2021 survey. And I gave I did a practice run for Stan and Angelique. And so we think it's ready to go. Angelique, you contacted Omar and asked him for a slot for me to give the presentation. So
You said you weren't really ready until September, so, because he's gonna be away.
that's right, because I'll be away during the August city council meeting.
So I haven't heard back yet, but I'll ask again.
Yeah,
So that's about it on that one. Like, it's really good. I like it. Good job.
Are you gonna do it in person, or are you gonna do it online?
I would do it in person.
Does it have slides?
Yeah.
It does have slides, yeah. They're very bare bones slides. Don't have any graphic design,
It's better than what I could do.
yeah.
Did you guys talk about doing a practice run, or how that will work when because I think you have to go to the podium up in that room
Mhm.
upstairs. It's not easy, but it's doable, but it's just not easy. So I don't know if you before the meeting,
Do a practice run in the space?
yeah,
Oh. I didn't even know
or
you
just
could do
ask
that.
Omar or Barbara,
Yeah,
the city clerk, as to how people do a presentation.
okay.
My only reason for raising this is because it's changing all the time as to how that room functions.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
you'll have
that's a
time,
good
because it's
idea.
not until September, but I think getting up there or talking to Barbara about how does someone share their, like, put the presentation up.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, yeah, that's a good idea, thanks.
Awesome.
Great.
All right. The accessibility ordinance, I don't have an update. I had sent it to Omar a couple months ago, and I've asked him to do, I think you may have asked him to, right, Omar?
I did, and I think he did finally respond and say, I'm sorry, I've been so busy, but he
Right.
didn't have an answer at the moment. It's the, right?
Right, yes.
That sound right?
About how we would go about putting the accessibility ordinance is the one where events would have to be required to list how they're accessible, and obviously you can't list everything, so it would have to have a contact person that somebody could call and ask for what they need. So nothing on that one right now. Does anybody have anything they want to ask about it? No? Okay. The cultural chaos input. Do you want to say anything?
You know, our booth wasn't in a great spot. It was kind of behind the library bookmobile. So only like 5 people stopped by and talked to us, got some feedback about parking in Easthampton, like specifically for the event, some feedback about just lack of accessible parking overall.
Bathrooms, right? Accessible bathrooms.
Accessible bathrooms. Oh yeah, that was the interesting one.
Do we have a list of
Someone
them?
was wondering where, if you know, a place where just someone that was planning a trip to Easthampton could know where the accessible bathrooms are.
Right, a list of them.
So it's like not like each individual business lists, but rather, you know, um, a list of like, you know, I'm going to Easthampton, where do I pee? You know, you know,
You always get down to the.
well, yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know, instead of like, let me look through a list of businesses and, you know,
No, they
let
said
me
a
click
list of
here, let me-
accessible bathrooms,
Yeah.
yes. Do you know of any? Off the top of your head?
I think having just some sort of general Easthampton accessibility information, like, you know, welcome to Easthampton, you know, our town is striving to be, you know, become accessible to people of all ability levels, blah, blah, blah. You know, there's the we have the accessible trail, we have blah. Let's see, our downtown district has, you know, has lots of shops, many of which are, you know, accessible, and you know, here's the bathrooms, here's the parking, here's that, you know.
This.
Yeah.
That's such a fun idea.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, I think the bathroom thing is important, but I also feel like we have a problem with just the availability of bathrooms in general, like for public use bathrooms. I mean, right, because most of them are like, for instance, in this building, which closes for 3 days a week. And, so, yeah, I mean, I think that's an important issue.
Bathroom separated from everything else.
Yeah.
Got it.
Right, you know, there's the bathroom in Millside Park that's almost always
Locked,
closed.
yeah.
Yeah. Right, and it's like, if you have a bathroom, why can't we use it? And then they put porta toilets out, but they were locked, so no one could use them either. But
In most.
yeah, in Millside Park.
Good question.
Oh, Stan has his hand raised.
Oh, yes.
Might that be something we want to add to the grant application? A specific number of portable accessible bathrooms. We have a lot of outdoor activities throughout the year, Winterfest and, you know, cultural chaos and ragtag parade and stuff like that, that if the Department of Public Works had, you know, a stock of accessible porta potties, that might be helpful as well.
That's who's in charge of it? The DPW porta potties?
No, I would say, I'm guessing they would say they're not I mean, for some events, they're rented usually.
Right.
And that's because they will take care of them, in theory, that clean
Right,
them.
part
So
of the service.
I would just say, I can't imagine that the DPW is gonna wanna take on maintaining one. So maybe we can look into acquiring several of them, and then and that might be like a grant fundable thing, is to acquire 5 accessible porta potties. But then there would need to be some money to have the service come and clean them. 'Cause I just don't see the DPW. It's a good conversation. The one thing I was gonna say is when maybe because this would take some research, and I think inventorying city-owned accessible restrooms
Yeah,
and when they're open, I think that's manageable.
yeah.
But to figure out like which businesses have an accessible bathroom, maybe like common knowledge, we could just put it somewhere, but maybe with the accessibility ordinance,
Yeah,
maybe that would be the goal, is because you would want to, with the accessibility ordinance, you would want to be able to post that information somewhere, right on the commission's webpage. Maybe that would be something we can work towards, is posting information about, other accessibility locations in town.
What?
And put it all in that one place. So I think that's what you were suggesting. Is
yeah,
you come to
yeah,
Easthampton.
well, accessibleeasthampton.com. This is the front page,
Should we get t-shirts?
You can get a t-shirt, you can make one. I noticed a lot of talk about porta potties. What about a permanent accessible restroom fixture like the one that's at Mill Pond? What about putting a couple of those at other spaces? Thinking behind here, just a building, small building.
Yeah.
Here, Maple Street,
Or what about,
Maintenance is going to be the issue there also.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
like, or what if the one at Millside Park was just open all the time instead of like 2 months out of the year?
that would be great.
Is there a reason it's closed? Like drug use or something?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I think what the parks director would say is that in the winter, it was never built to be year round. So it's gonna sound, I'm not the parks director, so I'm just explaining, but I think like the pipes underground can freeze. And generally speaking, like the same for the one in Nonotuck. That's why it's seasonal. It's because it's not designed to function all year round. So it's gonna always be closed in the winter. But then I think there's a question of just staffing to make sure it's open at normal hours. It's something we could investigate.
Okay.
That's a question, because the Parks Department has there's an accessible bathroom in Nonotuck, and then there's an accessible bathroom in Millside. Both came at probably they would probably exceed the grant amount. That 250,000 probably would not cover an actual building construction to get it built. But then, as Stan said, the maintenance, it would be continuously needing to be maintained, inspected, cleaned.
Yeah.
I've heard the discussion come up about an accessible, like a bathroom.
Yeah.
Some communities, some of the larger cities have figured it out.
Mhm.
We just haven't. So
Yeah.
Is there one at the pool?
Nonotuck, yeah.
there's one across the.
Is there an accessible bathroom?
Across the
Right.
road.
Across the road, that Nonotuck Road, across from the pool is the accessible bathroom at Nonotuck.
Okay.
Bryce, do you have anything you want to add or no?
We used to play softball down there.
Oh,
and
yeah?
It was really hard for us to go to the bathroom.
Oh, gee,
It wasn't accessible at all.
that's not good. I'm sorry that happened.
So I wonder how much it would cost to kind of upgrade those bathrooms so that they could be, they could be used during the winter.
Yeah. I mean, is it just different pipes? Cause that's expensive to redo piping, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, Nonotuck is closed in the winter, so there have been discussions about trying to open Nonotuck year round, but it's a no-go. The one at Millside, maybe that's a conversation, but I think before we get there, I mean, just even understanding when they're open, and posting that information. I mean, that's kind of like where the conversation started. I think the idea of constructing a new bathroom in downtown is a big topic that would have to probably come from the mayor's office as an initiative.
Okay.
David? Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
Bathrooms.
yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Do you want to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, this was
Splash-
one of the-
splash
sorry,
water
guys.
on this?
I'm so laughing. I did my wife.
It's okay, don't worry.
Yeah, no
I'll
worries.
be right back.
No worries. It's the first cool night. Everybody wants to sleep.
Yeah. After we get done, yeah, I'll talk to you about it.
Do we have more we want to say on this, or? No?
And
That's
I
not-
talk about, Angie, I want, get a paycheck.
All right.
Paycheck?
So that's about your house. That's not about Easthampton, okay? That's not about like Easthampton and disability, so we won't talk about that, okay?
I know.
My suggestion would be, I think it was the second item on the, like, adding to the next agenda,
Yeah.
but with the accessibility ordinance, maybe there's, a list of accessible facilities.
Right,
Just putting it on the agenda and trying to keep us
yes.
moving towards even creating a list.
Got that in the note.
Okay, that's good.
It-
And that's how it'll take longer than it would seem.
Right.
But I think if it's city-owned properties, I think we can do that. And I think we can get a better understanding of what the hours at Millside bathrooms open, non-tech bathroom, the city hall.
City owned is great, but I also think the reality is that we're promoting this whole arts district, without, that's primarily a desirable place to be after all the municipal properties are closed.
Yep.
So that's,
What are the laws around, a bathroom being private? Cause like, I know there's cards out there that you can have that if somebody says, oh, sorry, you can't use it, it's like a card that's like, no, sorry, I get to override you. I have a medical issue, so I can use your bathroom.
I don't
But then
know.
it's like, then you're making a big giant deal.
I
like-
don't know. I think I've never heard of such a thing.
There are. I mean, but that's really awkward to use it, right? If somebody's like, this is private, and you're like, I have this card, and they're like, well,
What do you mean private? Do you mean like for customers or patrons?
right, like they're
yeah,
saying,
Right.
sorry, our bathroom's just for employees.
It's a good question. I don't know.
I just, if I really gotta go, it doesn't work, then I don't know.
People have all sorts of, right, their own bags.
I don't know.
and,
I
like,
just carry a child around
just-
when I get a pass on that.
But yeah, I think there could be a problem with like putting a business on a map, right? As like, here's a bathroom you can use, like, right, without their
Talk to 'em.
permission. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we could call them first. I mean,
yeah,
it's
that's the research part. Are there people in this building that would have, like, would know about other accessible bathrooms by any chance, or like?
I doubt it. I mean, I think there's not a lot of new construction that we've seen.
Hmm,
I mean, I'm looking at the building on Cottage Street. That's probably the newest building that we'll see.
okay,
So the two stores that they're building, the storefronts are
Yeah.
probably designed, they're gonna be accessible to enter the stores. And then I just don't know, it depends on what they use it for, whether they need to provide a bathroom
Hmm,
and then if they do, it would probably need to be an accessible bathroom, but I think what Jeff's saying is like, if you're visiting, you'd have to be a customer,
right,
but then like some of these spaces on Cottage Street probably have a little bit better accessible bathrooms than others. So like the Brass Cat,
right.
I don't think.
The Brass Cat is not.
I don't think it's accessible
not
anyway,
accessible, yeah.
right?
the Brett.
Because there's a step
No,
going
you
in.
can go on the side. Go in the side door. There's.
But that wouldn't be the one you promote like as an accessible bathroom, because I don't think it was
Right.
so old. It's never designed that way.
Right.
Is there a grab bar there? I forget.
I don't know.
I forget. I mean, it's a fairly large bathroom.
I just think going into the private properties is the next level of harder to inventory what's out there. But maybe it's a goal.
I mean, there's probably
There's
only,
the word.
It's a goal to shoot
there's
for.
probably only 10 bathrooms on Cottage Street total. I mean, we're probably,
Right.
I mean, I could, I've probably walked in half the bars in a given night. Anyway, I could probably, probably there's 6 more restaurants, and then that's the whole thing, because none of the stores
Right.
have bathrooms.
Was there other input that day at social media?
Everything else I put in there.
Yeah,
I
you
put
did.
I put in an email.
Do you
I'd
want me to
have
look?
yeah.
I can look it up.
I think that was really the interesting stuff.
Oh, just I emailed it to everybody, the Northampton COD has a stream of crypt camp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's
Yeah.
in the next day or two. So that's an in-person movie. You said you've seen it before, right?
No.
No, you haven't. I made that up.
I have, and I actually visited the site where it exists, where the camp was.
Okay. Was that a field trip or?
No, I used to live in New York State and used to be around Hunter Mountain a lot. And there were several camps in the area that, back in the day when I was a camper. And so I visited, several of the sites and knew people that went there, et cetera.
And so what's the gist of the movie? Because you said you watched it and it's right.
No, I have seen the film.
What's the
Well, it's a camp that was started specifically to accommodate crippled children. That's why it became called Crip Camp. From the cities, a lot from New York, etc., and to give them a summer camp experience with people who were sensitive and to their needs, and with facilities that were that meet their needs. It was a wonderful experiment. Didn't last that long for various reasons. But it's an interesting film.
Yeah. Judy Uman and a bunch of other high profile, a bunch of other disability advocates that would go on to be really high profile were attendees of that camp. And it wasn't even that entirely specialized. They just recruited a bunch of people from the city as staff to all right, well, let's just carry the person in the wheelchair when, but it was just a bunch of, it was a very hippie type experience for, people. Yeah, it was just, it was a very free love, smoke weed type experience for people with disabilities in the 60s. A lot of people with polio, a lot of people with cerebral palsy and other stuff. And yeah.
So that brings up my other question. So somebody wrote to me about the word handicap. Like, we're not saying that anymore, right? We're saying accessible parking, because there was a flyer that was put out by something in the city and it just says handicap free. It's for swimming. And somebody wrote to me and was like, why does it say handicap?
Yeah.
So I wrote to them and I'm like, are you saying people with handicap placards are free? people that just have a disability are free? Like, what do you mean? Because it just says handicap, and this
Yeah.
person was really concerned.
According to the World Health Organization,
Yeah.
disability, impairment, and handicap all have different words. All have different definitions, and both can be correct in a certain.
Was it for the parks department?
Yeah, their swimming thing, it just says handicap free.
Right, and you said you sent something to them?
Yes, yeah, because somebody brought it to my attention.
Right.
What do you mean by handicap, and how would if you mean disabled, how would someone prove that? Does it placard, like, can you have ADHD and be?
Did they respond to you? I think being sensitive about how we describe certain things is important. That was with the Meg Bandera when the unpaved trails, person gave me some advice when we were talking about the trail. Yeah. And,
Okay.
I think the key takeaway for me was that, she really was emphasizing that people are wheelchair users. Like they don't require a wheelchair. They're not, there's some phrasing that is better, more politically correct,
Right.
more sensitive. So I think it was good that you flagged that. I think potentially following up and seeing if they can change the flyer or.
Yeah, she even offered to change. She's like, oh, I could just change it for them, whoever brought it up.
Right.
But yeah.
Louisa.
Go ahead, Louise.
I know who got in contact with you, who's been sending letters about this issue. I know her, I know the person, I know her name. I'm volunteering to be the go-between between her ignorance, her lack of knowledge, and I know damn well what she's talking about, and it is an accessibility issue. It is a issue for the Disability Commission.
Whose
Yes.
lack of knowledge?
The person who wrote you that letter that you've been saying, someone you don't know who?
No, I'm just not going to say it in a meeting.
Yeah, okay, right, me too.
Okay,
Contacted
so
a
you're saying
meeting, sorry?
You're
I know.
saying the person that wrote me, her lack of understanding?
Yeah, her
Are you
lack
saying
of
the person
experience.
who wrote the sign has a lack of
No.
understanding?
Her lack of lived experience. I'm right here to translate that.
No. Right,
Because-
I'm confused because the woman that wrote to me seems very knowledgeable.
Yeah, they wrote that letter sort of from a principled equity point of view. They don't have much lived experience. I have more than enough. I can translate.
Right, but that's okay. She doesn't have to be disabled
No.
to say.
I can translate into what her concerns are and where they are a legitimate disability commission. Just kind of.
Okay.
So before 11, because we probably have to get back, I wanted an update on the survey. Have we been doing anything with that?
He did update it.
You did update?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
he did a
sorry.
whole update on it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, that he has a presentation
Okay.
and we're gonna go through
Yeah.
it.
In terms of, preparing a new survey, we haven't
Okay,
done
yeah,
any of that. Yeah.
I heard you say that. I get it. Wow.
Well, before 11, we also have to do, because yearly you have to vote people in, you have to run. I can't even think of the word right now.
Elect.
Thank you for all the vocabulary today.
Yeah, I don't know everything.
No, I don't.
So are there other people that would like to do the chair or the co-chair?
What's that?
That's what I do. I'm the chair, so I gotta do the behind the scenes stuff and run the meeting.
Oh, I
And then
see.
he helps me. He helps me all the time with stuff, right? And then if I'm not here, he would run the meeting like he did
Wow.
a couple times.
And then we also still don't have a clerk, which is a.
Right, yeah, the secretary, so,
Secretary.
Who would take all the
Write
notes.
The notes.
Yeah.
so-
right.
Oh.
So do any of you want those positions?
Oh, thanks.
No thanks. Okay, so we're gonna have to, I don't even, what do you do? Like, you just say aye, right? You just,
So I would
someone
make a motion
nominate.
to nominate Angelique to be the chair.
well, thank you. So then we need a second.
I second that.
Okay.
Thank you. Is everybody okay with me being the chair that's
All
a
in favor, say
member?
aye.
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 Thank you.
I,
My hand.
All right, so I'm gonna nominate Eli to continue to be the co-chair.
Second.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah, okay, great. It's written, it's in the minutes. Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
I just wanted to bring up real quick the, recruiting. So Eli, and I, mostly Eli, has sat at the farmer's market. A couple people talked to you, right? A few people in
That's right.
general.
Yeah, I talked to two people who seemed to have serious interest in applying. I don't know whether they applied or not.
Okay, so there is somebody named Jim. I have no idea who this person is. They applied, they were voted on. I have written to him twice. I haven't heard back from him. I invited him today. And I know Luis, you put in an application and, you had some things you had to like fix and then now you submitted it again, right?
Yes. It's
So
my
Wait.
my side of things is going to be done in a week or so, and I'm prepared to.
great. And then, so I know Stan, you had set me up with somebody at River Valley
Yep.
Market, and they said we could come, but then I wrote to them and asked about dates and I didn't hear back. So, and that would be just to sit outside for an hour or so. So if anybody wants to do it, I'll do it. If anybody else is ever interested and you just,
What day?
oh, I don't have a day yet. We would have to
Okay,
talk
well, let
about
me know,
that.
'cause I like to
Yeah.
do it. I don't mind doing that.
And we have, Eli has a bunch of applications printed out. So there's that piece.
Well, yeah.
Does anybody have any other questions around recruiting or ideas?
No.
No,
Because I think we have 5 open spots. And if
I
maybe
would
more.
be excited to have the guy with the comic book, with the guy from the comic book store join.
Really? What?
Well,
Yeah,
you've already talked to him at the farmer's market, right?
yes.
And he is just such a great disability advocate. And he and some other people organized that rally in Northampton a while back.
Mhm.
And, you know,
I didn't know that. Wow.
yeah, he's always great to us when we
Oh.
come from Riverside.
Oh, I'll ask him.
I can maybe, next time I'm there, I can maybe, bring it up again.
Well, he contacted me about something else, about my son, and he was like trying to support him in something, so.
Oh, yeah.
So
Is his
I'll
name
ask.
Jim?
His name is Chris
Okay, all
something.
right, it's not Jim, okay.
Okay.
All right,
We'll shoot him an email back and just mention who you are and see if you
Yeah.
can get it that way, and
Yeah.
we'll all pressure it.
You get a card, he has a card that you can give, he will give it to you, and you give to her. So,
With the info,
yeah,
his info,
yeah, something like
sounds
that.
good.
Yeah.
Elise,
You know what I
you had
mean?
a question?
Yeah, just a comment because I'm pretty sure who you're talking about and personal reasons, his personal reasons, not available to join this commission at this time. I'm as disappointed as everybody, but
Oh, okay, well. Oh, I mean, I have to have direct contact with him.
it's gonna be embarrassing for him.
Well, he doesn't
Yeah.
need to share anything with me. I would never ask him to share any reason.
I appreciate that. To withdraw is gonna be embarrassing for him. Just letting you know.
Okay. I think that by you sharing that in a public meeting, that may not be great. just for future reference. Cause like now you've made it public, so anybody that watches this. So,
I hear you. My error.
okay. And I feel like we have one more thing. Oh, I know in the past when we had other people, like, they wanted to have a get together so we could get to know each other a little bit. I don't know what the laws are around that. Like, can we have an informal meeting where we don't talk about anything related to the COD?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, as long as we don't conduct it.
Yeah, no business.
Do any business.
Zero
Yeah,
business.
except what you do, stuff, your idea, all that stuff.
Yeah,
I think as long as you're not talking about the commission work,
Right.
right.
it's not,
Can make a
it's not
sign.
like a meeting. of the
Zero.
Commission, yeah.
Got it. Okay. Good to
Right.
know. Okay, so before we end, is there anything else? Any new business, anything we missed that you guys want to talk about?
I have a question. Are we gonna do speaker come in?
Speakers?
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll have speakers.
okay, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I just took a month off so that we could, because it was requested that we took a month off. So yeah, to see about anything else
Yep.
that people wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I have something to say. I know it's not on the agenda, so we can't discuss it, but I'm, what they did at the new crossing, of the Manhan Rail Trail and Payson Ave, like, I think is a total disaster. And it just brought up again how the city is not consulting anyone when they come up with these designs. So, I mean, I think it would be a problem for people, for blind people, but also a problem.
What is there? I don't know what's there.
It's a lot to explain in just a minute. But it's also probably gonna be a problem for all traffic on the Manhan Rail Trail. And according to somebody who is on the Manhan Rail Trail Committee, no one showed them this design or consulted them about it. And I'm getting more and more frustrated about the process that by which these things happen.
Do you know anything about?
What is that about?
Yeah, I know about the project, but what is do you mind sharing what the issue is?
Well, the issue is that the approaches and the curb cuts and don't line up with each other. And the crosswalk itself is only one lane wide. So you're forcing like two-way traffic to kind of, yeah, and so it's very confusing. And now they just put in these signal poles that are right in front of the approaches. So I don't know, it's super weird. And yeah, you have.
Field trip.
I can't even explain it. You have to see it.
All right.
It's just a total disaster.
All right, well, maybe I'll go look and see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then if we need to, we can put it on the agenda or something.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
No? Okay. So, I'm gonna make a motion to end the meeting. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep.
Yes? Aye. All right. Lisa, Stan, thank you for joining.
I'm sorry I took that.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.